22 jobs, one at a time. This is Backlog Buster's Final Fantasy V Single Job Challenge series. The core rule is to only use the assigned job. I'll be forced to go jobless using Freelancer until the assigned job becomes available. As soon as the job unlocks, I'll switch out of Freelancer and be locked into that job for the rest of the game, for better or for worse. I'll be doing my best to see the majority of the optional content, but it's going to depend on the individual job for some of it. As an additional challenge, I'm going to try and beat the game at as low a level as possible, and to minimize grinding, though some grinding is likely inevitable. Other than that, there are no restrictions. All equipment, game mechanics, and strategies are available to beat the game and see the credits. Working through that lengthy list one by one, this time I'll be playing. Let's start off this series by grugging it with Monk, which thankfully unlocks at the first crystal, so this is just a matter of getting there as soon as possible. All I gotta do is pick up Lena and Galof, then catch a ride with Ferris to the Wind Shrine. A quick trip to the top and Wing Raptor is domesticated. Time to start monkeying around. The best and worst part of Monk is you're stuck using your bare fists. Definitely an economical way to play the game since I don't need to buy any weapons. Punching is inherently strong. It's one of only 2 weapon types that can critically hit in Final Fantasy V, and it hits twice per round. Monks get a special barehanded attack formula, so it's actually comparable, if not stronger than weapons right now. Keyword being, right now. Monk's innate job command is Kick? This is an attack that targets all enemies. Pretty useful for cleaving through tons of chaff in random battles. Monk also innately has Counter. This lets you counterattack basic attacks coming your way. It pairs well with Monk's naturally high attack power and double attacks. With that brief Monk overview out of the way, kick, punch, it's all in the mind. If you want to test Tornacanal, I'm sure you'll find. The boss fight with Carlobos, I'll be sure to beat ya. Nevertheless, Sildra will get sucked into a whirlpool and the gang's in the ship graveyard. I wasn't even going to try to make that one rhyme. I've fought enough random battles through the ship graveyard to unlock Focus. This is a charged attack that does increased damage. May as well use it instead of basic attacks from now on, but it's time for the boss. Siren starts out as a caster, but after a while switches to an undead form that gains increased physical defense. Focus is strong enough to cut through her defenses, but you can also resort to chucking potions to deal damage. Ferris took a dirt nap, but once Siren switched back to her original form, the flurries of punches took her out. And now I'm just cleaning clocks all the way down to Carwin for supplies and armor upgrades, and it's off to the North Mountain. I'm smashing my way all the way to the top, then dodging the poisonous flowers right up until Magisa shows up to poison Lena. Magisa's not overly tough herself, but she'll summon her husband Forza after she takes enough damage, which is after 2 rounds of focus. Damn. A few more rounds of focus and Magisa's down for the count. Forza, however, is a lot stronger. Ferris takes another dirt nap, but focus is simply too powerful for him. He gets punched to death. And at this point, barehanded unlocked. This is a strong support ability for a lot of jobs, but for Monk, it does absolutely nothing. We've got it innately. Windrake acquired, and now it's heading down to Wall's Castle, where another meteor crashes near the Wall's Tower. Better go check that out. Fairly uneventful trip up the tower, but what's this? Garula's gone crazy. Garula's a really simple boss. All he does is physically attack, and he counters your attacks with physical attacks. You'll see the problem here. Monks attack twice, which means Garula double counters. This is a fast and furious battle, and of course I lose very, very quickly. I need 31 ability points until I get a new ability. I guess I'm checking to see what it is. And gathering a few levels along the way, of course. Oh, it was Chakra. Chakra is a self-heal. This is probably going to be our secret strategy to beating Garula. Because monks also have counter. So if I tell my team to stand their ground and use Chakra every turn, I can potentially turn the tables and counter Garula to death. Alright, I've put everyone in the back row to reduce physical damage taken and dealt. Now I'm priming Chakra on everyone, and I'll just let Buddha take the wheel on this one. Controller officially down. Counter doesn't trigger 100% of the time, but my strategy is completely flawless. Chakra keeps my team alive, and eventually my monks cut through Garula's 1200 HP completely through counters. That's the water crystal down. A new slew of job unlocks, but they're for another challenge run. Moving on to Karnak. Yeah, I'd like some new armor, please. Oh no, not jail! Sid's here, and he's a surprisingly important character. Oh wow, the fire crystal's right here? That didn't take long at all to get to. But just west of Karnak is a forest that has wild knacks. These wolves are easy grinding. Monks can kill the entire pack in one turn with kick. Strong EXP and a lot of gil too. I'm gonna need a lot of items since consumables are my only source of healing as monks. Cursor memory with auto battle it is. Blessed be for using the Pixel Remaster version. I grinded until I was level 16. I think now's a good time to tackle the fire ship. And I'm just cruising through all the way to the engine room, and it's time for Liquid Flame. Liquid Flame's form switching is pretty annoying. I probably should have had Focus equipped, but I chose Chakra. It's much better healing than potions at this stage of the game. Unfortunately, Lena got knocked out pretty darn early. Oh, what's this? The hand form of Liquid Flame doesn't change form if I counterattack it? Strategy status changed. I will simply use Chakra and wait for counters once again. Is this a super effective strategy? Not really, but putting the controller down and winning is pretty cool. Took a minute, but one more boss down and another crystal shattered. Really just can't catch a break here. Karnak's gonna blow up in 10 minutes? Well then, better skedaddle. The treasure chests here mostly contain elixirs or gil, but most of them are trapped. There are 2 really strong items on the outer ramparts of the castle. One side has an elf cape, the other has a guardian knife, which monks can't equip. I just can't remember which side is which. Left side first. Battle 1 and let's see. Yup, elf cape acquired. The elf cape has a 25% chance to dodge physical attacks and gives +1 to magic. This is a great early game accessory. Always worth picking up. That's everything I need. Time to blow this taco stand. On the last tile out of here is a boss battle versus Ironclaw. Wolves destroyed and oh, there he is. Easily dispatched, and I got some silver specs. This is also not a terrible early game accessory. Gives blind immunity. Karnak's stat has blowed up. Oh hey, some crystal shards that I can't use. Some other time perhaps. Items restocked and it's south to the ancient library. Thank goodness I wasn't level 20. I avoided getting instantly gibbed by level 5 death. And before you know it, I'm taking on the sub-boss Ifrit. Fyra's doing quite a bit of damage, but I'm down to clown and continue trying the Chakra strategy. Chakra is really starting to slow down. It appears to not scale, and Ifrit's outpacing it with Blaze. Whoops. Good old Pixel Remaster, I can just try again from right here. Friendship ended with Chakra. Spamming attack is new best friend. Well, clearly that was a heck of a lot easier than trying to spam Chakra for counters. That was a strategy useful for exactly 2 battles. Ifrit joined, so let's get past that bullying book and blitz it to the bottom to beat up Byblos. Taste my knuckle sandwich. Protect? Uh-oh. He's countering my only strategy of punches. By the way, protect means that my damage output is now halved. Very cool. Oh boy, and Byblos hits like a truck. Strong physicals and wind slash is just crippling my party. He's also got Discord, which lowers my level, and that cuts my damage output even more. And he has slow too? Oh, come on, man. This is absolutely a doomed attempt. Chakra just cannot outpace the damage Byblos dishes out no matter what we try, and his plethora of buffs and debuffs slaughters my party. 4 attempts later and I've deemed it fruitless. It's time for a walk of shame out of the library. All the way back to Karnak to kick some wolves to death over and over again. Level 21 achieved, and it's all the way back through the library to the basement. Oh yeah, Focus dealing about 900 damage, but Byblos immediately put a protect up, so Focus will be 450 now. But it's my only choice, I gotta spam Focus. Despite Lena getting sucked to death, it only takes a few rounds before Byblos is done. That's another wall down. Foreshadowing for the future where I'll likely have to just stop and grind to beat some bosses. With mid rescued, it's back to Karnak to get Sid to fix up the fire ship, and I'm headed straight to Crescent Island. Easy come, easy go. The nearby Chocobo Forest has a flying black Chocobo, which also has 2 more crystal shards. Maybe another time. Straight back to the ancient library, then to take on the Dune 2 popcorn bucket. I mean Sandworm. You know what I'm doing to it. Sandworm's gimmick is that it's a whack-a-mole game. If you hit one of the holes by accident, you get countered with Demi. I'm thinking Focus is a little too risky since the Sandworm might move. I'll just stick to consecutive normal punches. And if he's just gonna stay in one place the whole fight, I'll simply punch him to death. Easy peasy. On to the Ronka Ruins. This is actually one of my favorite tricks, by the way. Instead of playing hide and seek with King Tycoon, you just see him once and then head to the top of the ruins, skipping the whole thing. Down inside, hey, it's the fire ship, and a new airship, and a hop-on. Crayclaw? More like Joke Claw. I mean, it would be if he stopped spamming Tailscrew for 5 seconds. Past West, you gotta let it go. Please stop trying to make Chakra counter work. It's over. But it did work out this time. Only barely, though. Hindsight is definitely 20/20. Spamming Focus is gonna be the right call. Chakra does not scale. Airship acquired, so it's time for some backtracking. I'm picking up the silver specks I forgot to grab in walls at the beginning. Whoops. Could have had those a lot earlier. A quick trip to Licks to grab some new armor, then I'm flying back to Ronka Ruins and it's flying? What? I need to go higher. Back to the Tycoon Meteor. Oh no, a turtle. This is a boss that's strictly physical attacks. No, don't do the Chakra spam again, don't fall for it. Ferris takes a dirt nap, then Lena. Chakra counter strategy successful once again, but only barely. Back to the local brain lords and my ship's upgraded. I think the soul cannon will be a problem, so it's just a short trip north to Black Flame Island. This is by far the best grinding spot at this stage of the game. Spamming kicks and I can get a lot of EXP and gil farmed in this spot in a short time frame. I leveled all the way up to 26 and let's try to take on those side cannons. The first set, Kick to Death. Set 2 are rocket launchers. Oh wow, confused, killing my entire party. Neato. Through grinding, I've got 100,000 gil burning a hole in my pocket. I'm flying to Istory. 2 angel rings purchased. These will make me immune to aging and zombify, but they also have 10 magic defense. This will hopefully be enough magic defense to make the confuses whiff. Round 2 went way smoother. Easy victory with focus, and yes, the angel rings did help. Rounds 3 and 4 against the side cannons are finished without much issue, but you know, sometimes things just do go south. But I'm gonna spam continues until I win, baby. It's time for the main event, the soul cannon. The side cannons inflict uld, which slowly reduces your level. Angel rings do prevent uld, but I gotta kill these side cannons before it inflicts it on the other 2 guys that don't have them, and oh great, Lena's gonna suck for the rest of the fight. A few rounds of kicking is all it takes to take out the side cannons. Now, it's time for the main event. The wave cannon does percentage damage, but I have enough HP to survive. Those zany monks have enough attack power to crush the soul cannon before a second wave cannon comes out though. The Ronka Ruins aren't so bad, I'm just punching and kicking my way through all the way to the end. Save pointed, and now it's time to head to the bottom to fight Archaeoavis. Archaeoavis' gimmick is that it has very high physical defense, but a rotating magic resistance. Focus it is. Auto battle, lend me your power. That's phase 1 completely destroyed. Archaeoavis then turns Ferris cool, but dies immediately after. Thank God we made it to the Earth Crystal in time. Oh, come on, man. Well, that's all crystals destroyed, and Exdeath is free now. Galof decides that,
I'm fed up with this world.
So let's see what's bumping back in Waltz. Purobolos, aka the Bomb Squad. You gotta kill them all at the same time or they cast a rise on each other, and that becomes a huge problem very quickly. Killing everything at the same time sounds like a job for good old Kick. Spamming Kick and they all conveniently die at exactly the same time. Easy game, easy life. Karnak Meteor's up next. It's just a little trip westward. Titan's down here. Focused attacks and he goes down in about a round. Titan always final attacks with Earthshaker, which is pretty scary, but the Monk's natural beef shrugs it off. Gone Meteor's up next. Chimera Brain is the scariest one because Aqua Breath and Frost are pretty strong attacks, but you know what? Focus is also pretty darn strong. Done and done. Meteor Convergence spot? Let's go. Haha, just kidding. I'm going back to Black Flame Island to grind some more. This is actually the best grinding spot for a long time. For whatever reason, once we head into Galuf's world, the random battle EXP and gil gains just tank right to the floor. It's way faster to grind right here than grinding Galuf's world. Really should have done this before Galof left though. Oh well. After a brief grind sesh, I'm immediately kidnapped by Exdeath. Oh great. But Galuf's here to save the day after blasting Gilgamesh with a single focused fist. The gang's all back together. The Biggest Bridge, a combat grinder with a great soundtrack. But inside is Gilgamesh. Who could have predicted this? Focus quickly putting him into phase 2 where he puts Protect on. Oh god, not again. But he's using Jump? Oh, he's a Dragoon. This shouldn't be a problem at all. Done and dusted, then Exdeath Barrier blasts us a million miles away. What's one more combat grinder to get to Ruger, Border Town, where I can finally restock on items? High potions are also finally available, and they heal 500 HP. This is obviously way better than the 50 HP from regular potions I've been dealing with. In-combat healing is finally viable now. But what's this? A Moogle? And here's Lena's only character trait, liking animals. I'm kicking my way through the underground to the next boss fight. Hey, you leave that Moogle alone. Undead, huh? One Phoenix down is all it takes. This one can miss, but this is by far and wide the easiest way to beat this boss. In the Moogle Forest, it's mostly a little loot fest. A bunch of free items from these chests. The Dancing Dagger is actually useless for monks since I can't equip it, but I can always use one more elf cape. and the poor Drake overexerted itself, so it's off to the place no one has ever returned from. Doors locked? Oh yeah, we better find Kelgar, and definitely not knock that werewolf's block off. Oh, how interesting. Bart's dad, Dorgan, was one of the Warriors of Dawn. Bart's canonically half alien. There's new gear here in Quelb, including some valuable strength boosting gear with the power sash and headbands. I'll skip on the power armlet accessories though. The angel rings and elf capes have way better effects. In Drakenvale, there's a lot of poison to deal with. I'm all stocked up on consumables, so it's not a huge deal though. But there is a lot of damage being thrown around, and even with high potions, this is wearing my stockpile down. At the very least, zombie dragons occasionally drop dragon fangs, which I can sell for 2,500 gil. Just before getting the bone mail, everyone finally mastered Monk. Speaking of the bone mail, monks can actually equip it, which is great. This is a pseudo-undead effect. This means that healing items will damage you and you'll take increased damage from fire and holy attacks, but it provides great defense and a lot of status immunities. I'll wear it for right now. Finally, time for the boss fight. The dragon pod summons flowers which inflict various status effects. You can easily get overwhelmed and crippled by these statuses. Haha, just kidding. Kick clears the flowers instantly and the dragon pod is left defenseless. Easy game, easy life. Let's return from where nobody has returned from before. The Windrake's healed, let's go meet Sage Guido. Well, he's gone forever, I guess. Well, let's check out this giant fleet instead. Oh, it's Zayza. Remember Zayza of the Dawn Warriors? Oh no, it's Gilgamesh again. Oh no, not Enkindu, not White Wind. How could this possibly happen to me? Oh no, he sucked his brains out. I guess I actually have to do a modicum of inputs here. Enkindu toasted, and now Gilgamesh is on his own. Easy peasy. Ah, cool, Zayza, you made a homemade sub. Hold on, that's not a Logitech controller, is it? But we made it inside the barrier tower, and there's something very important to get here. You can get into random battles with Reflect Knights. They have a chance to drop Reflect Rings, which grant permanent Reflect status. I want to get at least 2, but I'll take 4. See you when I get them. Surprisingly, that only took about half an hour. I'll count myself lucky here because I've definitely taken hours before. In the past, I've watched the entirety of now lost media Netflix is cooking on high while grinding these. It was awful. By far the worst cooking show I've ever seen. But with my 4 reflect rings, it's time to head to the top of the tower. My fist will carry me all the way. Jab, jab, hook. The top. Atmos here will just kill someone with meteor and then try and suck them over and over and slurp them down. But not on my watch. I will simply spam focus. Okay, bye Bart's, he's gone forever, but the rest of them can punch Atmos to death. Now it's time to head underwater to find Sage Guido. I always get this rock puzzle wrong, but the Guardian branch is finally mine. Sage Guido's cave is done and dusted, it's off to Moor. And outside of Moor are Decrier enemies. These are a pretty good grinding spot, but it's usually better for certain other jobs. I spent a few minutes grinding here to get to level 33. Time to tackle the forest itself. I'm kicking my way out of here. T-yaw! Oh god, Exdeath set the forest on fire? I'll simply wait with my little Moogle friend. And now it's time for a fun boss fight. The crystals only physically attack until they hit 50% health, and then they start spamming very strong elemental magic. The goal here is to chip a crystal down to about 50% health and then focus them down. With focus, of course. I never actually remember what each individual crystal is, but I guess top is fire. Reflect rings are keeping me safe for now. But countering the crystals is a huge problem, as evidenced by the Earth Crystal getting Earthshaker off, followed by the Wind Crystal getting Aeroga off right after. Let's try that again. Round 2 Earth Crystals focused down this time. Now for the Water Crystal, and that's destroyed. I tanked an Aqua Breath, but I managed to survive. Good old spam and healing items. The Wind Crystal is next, and it gets focused down. I've already won. The Fire Crystal can't kill me because of Reflect. God bless Grog Mode. Listen, those crystals can be really annoying. Oh no, Exdeath's back. He's killing everybody. But Galuf's simply too angry to die. But anger has its limits. Galof has died, and Kryl joins immediately, absorbing Galuf's power. It's like nothing changed at all. These last couple of boss fights have been a little dicier than I'd like, so I'll destroy some more Decriers and restock consumables and more. 99 high potions don't last nearly as long as you'd expect when it's all you have to heal. Trust me. Now for revenge on Exdeath. Oh, Kryl sees Grandpa and a Wolfman? You mean Kelgar, right? One of the Warriors of Dawn? Your dad's close friend and also your neighbor? Do all werewolves look the same to her? Is Kryl secretly racist? Bare fist damage is really starting to show its age now. Kick is now equally strong to double punching, so it's back to spamming kick, I guess. For these weaker chaff enemies, it's totally fine, but for anything stronger, there's some serious damage output problems. Make no mistake, I am absolutely over-leveled at this point of the game, but these random battles are just barely tolerable. I am easily wiped out by any kind of dragons, though. I gotta play really carefully on these upper floors. Nothing in the chest? Well, I'll go ahead and fight Gilgamesh again. Smashing focus and killing Gilgamesh before he kills me. Not worth fighting him for right now, but it'll be definitely worth it for later. Bye! 13th floor, the final battle with Exdeath. Instantly doomed? Alright, cool story, bro. Instantly back road. Okay, my damage is sucky now. Dealing 900 damage with focus from the back row surprisingly isn't that bad, though. But Earthshaker, Hurricane, and then Zombie Breath? I'm totally toast. Let's try that again. But, put the Bone Mail on. And he gets instantly doomed? What? I guess it's spamming elixirs to get through this time. Oh, cool. Bone Mail doesn't make you immune to zombie. At least I can Revivify and it got rid of the doom as well. This is one of the reasons that I grinded these Reflect Rings. Level 3 Flare reflected back at Exdeath. And now, he's also spamming level 3 spells, which also get reflected. Butts took a dirt nap, and I can't revive him because of the Bone Mail. It's up to the ladies. I think I've stabilized though. Reflect Rings and Focus carried me through to the end. Exdeath's gone, but where are we? A classic Boobarts moment, and then Kryl and Butts are off somewhere by themselves. Boko canonically knocking boots? Good on him. But it's time for the Antlion. What a fun and memorable boss fight. I sure hope I don't just spam focus and win. And you know what? Even with focus now, our damage is straight up garbage. The classic Monk conundrum. Crush World 1, barely make it through World 2, and cry in World 3. Ferris back in and definitely welcome. I need that damage output. A bunch of backstory on Exdeath, and the Ancient Library builds us up some lore. Now it's time for the first double Gargoyle Guardians. You have to kill these both at the same time, so that's a perfect job for Kick. The Pyramid of More is usually a treasure trove, but for me as a lowly monk, I really don't care about anything. I'm just cruising my way through all the way to the top. Tablet obtained, Bahamut unleashed, and hey look, there's my airship, let's go back and get it. Uh-oh, I've been ambushed by hot babe Melusine. I hope she doesn't crush me with her magic, haha. Melusine is a lot like Arceoavis with a rotating magic defense, except her defenses are basically impregnable. I can damage her if I get a critical hit, but otherwise it's a big fat 0. That is, until she finally barrier changes to being weak to physical attacks. Since I have wall rings on everyone, she's going to be healing herself with her spells, but I basically can't die either. One more reason to grind wall rings. Finally, she shifts to physical. She's still healing herself, but focused attacks are actually dealing damage, right up until she barrier changes once again. I had to spam a few Phoenix Downs and elixirs, and finally she barrier changes to physical again, and I can cut through the rest of her health. Really glad I got those wall rings. Airship recovered, and the final dungeon opens up now after Exdeath slurps up the world. Everything from this point on is now technically optional content. But let's start by heading off to the hidden Phantom Village, always a great first stop. I'm going to the secret accessory shop and picking up some Hermes sandals. Hermes sandals give 3 magic defense, but most importantly of all, permanent haste. Getting twice as many turns would be good enough to justify the slot, but they also make you immune to paralysis, sleep, stop, and slow statuses. These are without a doubt the single best accessory in the whole game. Unfortunately, I can only afford 3 pairs at the moment because they're 50,000 a pop, but I'll get the 4th one soon. Notable is that hidden in the bar is the Thief Knife. This lets any job that can equip knives use the steal ability, which is every job except Monk and White Mage. Very cool, but I'm only mildly miffed. Most of the best gear isn't equipable by Monks anyways. Now I just gotta find that black chocobo and rescue it. Monk is really gonna have some serious issues with the rest of the game, so I'm grinding again. With the black chocobo, you can fly up to the north and land in the forest. The desert here has a series of enemies that are generally pretty easy to kill and provide decent EXP and gil gains. Kick targets all, and it does pretty bad damage at this stage in the game, but it's good enough, especially with our new Hermes sandals giving us twice as many kicks. After about 40 minutes, I was satisfied. It's time to head to the Sealed Temple. Dropping off the tablet lets me take 3 of the 12 legendary weapons, all of which are completely useless to me. Time to go, and oh my god, the Monsters of the Void are released. First things first is heading to Istory on Boko. At the top of the waterfall is the hidden magic lamp. When you use this in combat, it will cycle through summons. This is a great addition for any non-summoner class challenge. But now I'm ripping to the island shrine for the next tablet. Set of gargoyles again, get kicked to death by 4 hasted monks. The Island Shrine is actually a pretty annoying dungeon. The only real notable treasure here is the Protect Ring, which grants a permanent regen effect. And that's not even close to comparable to Hermes' sandals, trust me. The Island Shrine has a lot of annoying pitfalls, which leads to a lot of battles. The Hermes sandals are really making up for Monk's lack of damage output for sure. The best strategy of just get more turns in turn-based games, who would have thought? At the end of the Island Shrine, it's the tablet and the Wendigo. This is another whack-a-mole boss. I will simply kick them all. Alright, so kick causes a frost counter from the other 3. I could win this way, but you know what, I'll just play the shell game. Turns out Wendigo barely attacks, and if it does, it usually uses moves like Mind Blast. Thankfully, I'm immune to it because of the Hermes sandals. Did I mention that these are the best accessories in the game? Wendigo dies to a good old-fashioned punchin', our only valid move as a monk nowadays. Gotta love not having the warp spell either. Gotta hoof it all the way out of here. And now it's time for the Fork Tower. You have to split your party, and in the left tower you can only use magic, and in the right you can only use physical attacks. Tycoon Sisters go up the left tower, and Bartz and Kryl, right tower it is. You'll notice that monks can't use any magic, which is a real problem, but I also can't die because I can just put on wall rings for permanent reflect. I'm just going to run from all the enemies up the mage tower. Once I'm at the top, the second party goes up the physical tower. I'm also going to run through this. There's no reason to linger in these towers. At the top of the right tower is Minotaur. Not an overly tough fight, but he does actually hit pretty hard. Had to use a few high potions, some phoenix downs, and elixirs, but he eventually goes down to punchin'. Not surprising for monks though, a pure physical class. But the real problem is the magic tower. Omniscient is a fun boss for non-casters. If you ever physically attack him, he casts Return, which resets the battle to the beginning. Omniscient will never physically attack. He'll simply cycle through various spells, all of which are reflectable, except Drain, but Drain is rare and a high potion remedies it. By entering this battle wearing reflect rings, we basically can't die. Unfortunately, we can't kill Omniscient either. So how are we gonna beat Omniscient, you may ask? Well, my friends, we're gonna run him out of MP. All 30,000 of it. And it's going to take a very, very long time. I am going to do this exactly 1 time legitimately for this challenge series. You know, if you were streaming this perhaps, you could do something fun like play Slay the Spire for, I don't know, 14 to 16 hours? So after around that 14 or so hours, Omniscient will start failing spells. This is where things start to get really, really annoying. You need to sit there and watch Omniscient until he tries to cast Libra, which is a 1 MP spell. Then it has to fail. Once Libra fails, it means he's fully out of MP. Once that Libra fails, you can beat Omniscient to death with your bare hands. He'll still try to countercast Return after every attack, but it will fail, because he's out of MP. And you definitely need to make sure he's completely out of MP. You wouldn't want to do all of that waiting around, just for Omniscient to have exactly 1 MP left and return you to the start of the game. That would be just tragic, haha. So that's how you beat Omniscient with any job. You just wear reflect rings and then just run him out of MP over the course of 14 to 16 hours. But for all future single job challenges that don't have magic, I'm just going to take the path of least resistance. For Omniscient, I'm just going to buy Fire 3 from More and defeat him with Black Mages. You can say it's a challenge failed and I will deliver you a stamp for your pain and suffering. I've got better things to do than spend 16 hours every single one of these challenge runs idling on Omniscient until he runs out of MP. You can address all of your complaints to management. With the Fork Tower defeated, I can finally reunite with resident Brainlord Sid in mid to get my airship/boat upgraded into a now/submarine. There's more optional content to do, so first, let's tackle Bahamut at the North Mountain. The enemies in the North Mountain are exactly the same as in World 1, so this is an easy straight to the top for Bahamut. Bahamut's an interesting boss because he has set behaviors based on his current HP. He always opens with Mega Flare, which reflect rings can reflect, then he'll go into Atomic Ray, which is also reflected. Maelstrom does put me in critical health, and a Poison Breath finishes me off though. Poison Breath, huh? Sounds like a job for the Bone Mail. Focus is finally dealing some good damage at about 3,200 a round. This time, Poison Breath comes off of Maelstrom and Bart survives by absorbing it. Now Bahamut's weak, and in his final HP bracket, he simply spams Mega Flare over and over, which Bart's can of course reflect. Bahamut finishes himself off, and that's one more piece of optional content done and dusted. And since it's close by, why not head to the Sunken Walls Tower? This is just a race to the bottom crushing easy enemies. At the bottom, famed Mimic Gogo shows up. Gogo is easily defeated by mimicking Gogo. Gogo's doing nothing, so I will do nothing as well. That's the final job, Mime unlocked. But that's for another time. A supply restock would have been smart, but it's down to the Undersea Trench now, because it has an accessory exclusive to monks. Another set of gargoyles dragon kicked to death, bro. These enemies down here are actually really tough though. Kick doing basically no damage, and basic punches are feeling weak. Focus actually feels required to do any damage down here. I'm level 43 at this point, which casually is very capable of beating the game. Monks just taper off that hard. Unfortunately, there's also magma floors down here, which damage me as I attempt to walk across. Down in the deep sea trench, it's absolutely a war of attrition. All I have now are potions to heal, so it's really easy to get worn down. I actually ran out of high potions as I finally got to the dwarf village. Thank God, I could really use a restock. There's no item shop here? Are you kidding me? There was no way I was making it back to the top, so I reloaded an old save and stocked up on healing items before doubling back. That was a big yikes. After finally running all the way back, I can get to the final area and acquire my Kaiser Knuckles. This increases my unarmed attack bar by 50 and adds 5 strength. Time to test him out, and he doesn't even get a turn to try. The 3 hasted monks kill everything before he can get a single attack off. Sure, I'm glad I went out of the way for this. But there's more to do down here, and here's the tablet. And the triad of bosses, Triton, Nereid, and Phobos. This is another boss you have to kill all at the same time. These guys are weak to sunken from Odin summoned from the magic lamp, but I'm opting to kick them to death instead. Bartz's kicks are about twice as strong with the Kaiser Knuckles, but the hasted monks attack twice as fast, not to mention it provides a bunch of status immunities, and more turns is more potential to spam items as well. Just more versatile with the Hermes sandals, and it basically gives you similar, if not the same, damage output. Kaiser Knuckles confirmed complete garbage, unfortunately. This boss died pretty fast, but I could have one-turned them with the magic lamp. I'm out of high potions and low on regular potions as I make my way back to the submarine. I actually had to resort to spamming a few elixirs. Pretty brutal. But I escaped. Totally worth it for a garbage accessory and a tablet to unlock secret weapons that I'm not even allowed to use. Fully restocked, let's hit up Odin. This is going backwards through the Jackal Cave and exiting out behind the locked door in Castle Ball's basement. You gotta clean Odin's clock in under a minute, so good thing Hermes sandals exist. What? He's gonna hit me with sunken anyways? Odin's dead in 30 seconds flat.
That was easy.
One more tablet, let's head off to Istri Falls, which is a quick trip in the submarine. The last set of gargoyles absolutely kicked to death. Once again, there's tons of good treasure in Istri Falls that I simply can't use, so it's all getting skipped. The enemies here are actually really lethal. Alchemelia and their cool frogs are killing people left and right. Steel fists are also super scary, but they also drop Kaiser Knuckles. Too bad I've already concluded that the Hermes sandals are just way better. Otherwise, I may actually have wasted time farming 3 more pairs of Kaiser Knuckles. At the bottom, that's tablet number 4. What, no boss? Oh, there he is. Too bad Leviathan's out here giving him the Kool-Aid Man. Off screen, I bought some coral rings. Let's fight Leviathan. Man, getting paralyzed because I took off my Hermes sandals feels real bad, but coral rings turn tidal wave from lethal damage into a self-heal. That's especially useful when it's back-to-back tidal waves. Not too much longer and Leviathan's done. He's totally optional, by the way. You can just ignore him, take the tablet, and leave. All that's left is to tackle the final dungeon, the Interdimensional Rift. Once again, equipment-wise, I'm good, so most treasure chests are just not worth it. This is just a matter of fighting through the desert and factory areas before reaching the forest. The forest has the first boss, Callisto Fairy, who's mostly just going to debuff my party and buff herself. She gets absolutely bonked to death. Down into the caves now. Most of the enemies here are just really annoying with super high evasion and high damage output. The super boss Omega is here, but he's definitely outside the scope of this challenge. You can only beat him with very specific job and ability setups, and Mono Monk is simply not one of them. Immediately after is a panda. This guy's basically Bioblows 2.0 with all the same attacks and weaknesses. And there it is, Protect. Great. This guy just keeps sucking on cryo, but spamming a few high potions and getting focused attacks off, and he's finished. I'm about halfway through the rift and I'm starting to feel the crunch with healing items. I'll see how far I can push forward. Restocking means a walk of shame all the way out of the rift, by the way. In the castle area, and the enemies are starting to get very strong. I can win these battles, but I'm trying to run from everything just so I don't use too many healing items. Finally inside, down to the prison, and it's time to take on Apocalypse, I mean Azul Magia in this version, which means Blue Mage. I have one strategy that works, and I'm gonna smash him to death with focused punches. Oh god, level 5 death? Oh, Flash! I guess I really do need to cure that. Azul Magia really had it out for Bartz this fight, but he gets his revenge, and that's one more boss down. And that means a very, very valuable save point. That means I can stay here for at least a little longer. Catastrophe's in this same room. Mostly he just spams the very scary Earthshaker, but for some reason he's opening up with Demon Eye. Very cool, where's that gold needle? Spamming focus is all I can do though. Just keep on keeping on. My strategy is simply to kill bosses before they kill me. Blessed be this sacred circle. Oh, Smooch? Just for me? Oh man, come on, she was an evil monster the whole time? Just my luck, man. Halicarnassus opens up with toting the whole party. Maiden kisses all around. Then she's using reverse polarity to destroy my damage output. Then self-buffing before killing someone with Holy. Fortunately for me, my damage output at level 45 is so high that I trash Halicarnassus with hasted focused attacks. Back down to the save circle, but man, these enemies are just as annoying as possible. I'm getting petrified, zombied, and instantly killed by death spells just to drain my dwindling resources. Before I leave, I'm gonna try and take on Twintania. This guy's a big problem for a number of reasons, but I'm swapping to Coral Rings to absorb Tidal Wave counters first. I'm starting this fight with 2 castings from the Magical Lamp, Bahamut followed by Leviathan. Now, Odin's primed for the Gigaflare weakness. And I'm just gonna stand around until it happens. Taking off my Hermes sandal sucks, but absorbing Tidal Waves definitely makes it worth it. Finally, Twintania powers up for Gigaflare. Get Zansetsukian. Completely free and a easy, cheesy victory for me. I simply don't have enough healing resources to beat the final encounters here. It's gonna be dicey just getting back. Through checkpoint hopping and using the last of my resources, I managed to make it out of the rift though. It's back to Phantom Village, restocking all of my items and dumping all of my spare gil for elixirs at 50,000 gil a pop. At this point, I grinded to level 47, recharged the magic lamp at Istri Falls, and then I went back down to the rift. This time I have a separate save file set up just so if I fail, I don't actually have to run all the way back up again. I can just reload my save. Making it all the way to the bottom and post Twintania, the enemies in this area of the rift give nothing but ability points. They're completely worthless for me to fight. They're also hard to escape from, so that's very cool. Gilgamesh is here, and while this is technically a fight, it's also not really a fight. Coward mode engaged. I'm running through the void to the penultimate boss, the Necrophobe. I think everyone's kind of a necrophobe if you think about it. Necrophobe starts with barriers that cast strong magic on itself and reflect it onto your party. I'm taking a ton of damage, but Monk's beefy health is making this at least sustainable. Sustainable in that I'm not being completely obliterated instantly. Focused attacks take out the barriers one at a time, but I did sustain some heavy casualties. All the barriers are finally down and Necrophobe immediately blinds my whole party. Dude, nice. Now he starts spamming Hurricane and super strong physical attacks. I have to resort to spamming items, including my super valuable elixirs just to stay alive. I was simply overwhelmed by double attacks. I just couldn't outpace the damage with my healing. Next attempt I tried swapping Lena and Ferris to Elf Capes. This is all so that they can hopefully dodge the onslaught of physical attacks. The next attempt does go better. Once there's only one barrier left, I finally decide to fully heal my party so that I can survive the incoming barrage of physical attacks. But I forgot about Flash. I gotta spend a round healing it. If I have to resort to spamming a bunch of elixirs to get through, I'll do it. There's only a few battles left anyways. The Elf Capes do actually absorb a huge amount of damage, but I'm still getting worn down. I can barely stabilize using just items to heal, let alone getting some damage in. Ferris's Elf Cape really came in clutch here. She blocked a ton of lethal attacks, but it was no use. I lost. Necrophobe is technically optional, so I could just skip him and move straight to Neo Exdeath. Neo Exdeath is 2 phases. The first, Treeform Exdeath, has some very scary attacks like White Hole. This petrifies and kills a party member, which means it takes 2+ turns to actually get them back into the fight. Otherwise, it's a barrage of strong physical attacks and a mix of flare and holy spells. And once he's at like a quarter health, he starts spamming Meteor every turn, which means my party is going to get slaughtered unless I can burst him down. This first phase has a whopping 32,000 health to cut through. That's really difficult when I'm constantly trying to get people up from White Hole and getting knocked out by physicals. The Hermes sandals really feel mandatory here. The constant White Hole spam is making this exceedingly difficult to actually get any damage in. But I do manage to get some damage in. Unfortunately, it gets him into meteor range and I get wiped instantly. The second attempt was a lot better. I'm resorting to normal attacks now instead of focused. This is also I get my turns in faster. If someone gets White Holed while charging focus, that's potential damage that I'm losing out on. With that minor change in strategy, I managed to get to Neo Exdeath. Everyone was alive with about 700 HP. This is a 4-part boss fight. The big guy in the front T-posing uses strong physical attacks and Vacuum Wave. The hot babe at the back uses strong tier 3 magic and Delta attack. The demon face on the bottom and the wolf lion boys up back use Grand Cross and Almagust, but I can never remember which does which. Grand Cross randomly inflicts every status in the game on the whole party, and Almagust is a target all holy elemental attack, both of which are extremely dangerous. Starting off, I'm immediately ripping through the magic lamp charges. The hot babe caster in the back is vulnerable to instant death, so getting her out of the way immediately is a great idea. Zantet's sunken kills her and that's one less part to worry about. Now I need to get everyone back up and healthy to survive the physicals and eventual Almagust. I just couldn't get the lamp off in time though, and barely survived Almagust and a Blizzaga. And now Bartz is the only one alive, but I'm pushing through to try and get everyone back up. Elixir spamming is the only way I can get through this, but I'm down to 5 left. Worth noting here is that I need to actually kill the parts at the same time, otherwise he enters a meteor spamming state just like in the first phase. I'm desperately trying to take out the front part, but I just can't stabilize. A long, grueling fight ensues and I finally manage to take out the front part. And that means resorting to kicks for the final 2 parts. The elixirs are long gone at this point, all I have to heal are high potions. And that's not enough, I just get worn down. Almagust damage is too hard to heal the whole party through with just high potions. And that being said, all it takes is one bad Grand Cross to end the attempt with double zombies. I no doubt got close to winning, but kicking for 700 damage when I have 50,000 HP to cut through with minimal healing, just not feasible. Neo Exdeath is always difficult. He's by far the hardest boss in the main story by a massive margin. The sad reality is I spend like 60 plus high potions just getting to the bottom of the rift. I'm simply tapped out of healing items by the time I get here. I made 2 more attempts at Neo Exdeath and I didn't even get past the first phase. It's just not happening right now. I'm reloading my previous save, heading to the desert, and I'm going to grind to level 50. After which, I'm going to sell everything extraneous and buy as many elixirs as I can and make one final attempt. On the way up, I pick up chests that I passed over for extra elixirs. Some of the early enemies in here drop elixirs as well, so fighting isn't too bad. My kicks gained about 200 damage getting to level 50, so I'm not complaining about that. It could very well be the difference. I've totally abandoned focus too. I've concluded that the final ability Monk unlocks, HP plus 30%, is simply the best ability to use. This gives me a lot more survivability and it also gives my elixirs a lot more oomph. Focus is simply not pulling its weight anymore, especially since I need to kill all the parts at the same time to avoid getting killed by meteor. Fighting all the way to the bottom once again. Yeah, sure, let's go ahead and try Necrophobe. My HP is huge. I'm gonna try kicking all the barriers to death this time. They'll all survive longer, but they should all die together. Those extra levels really are helping. My damage is a lot lower without focus, but I can actually survive some of Necrophobe's attacks this time. I really want to save all my elixirs for Neo Exdeath, but I have to use a couple. It's either that or spamming Phoenix Downs. I'm scraping out tiny amounts of damage in between spamming items. But yet again, I couldn't beat Necrophobe. I think that's mostly because I was being stingy with my elixirs. You know, I totally could beat Necrophobe, I'm not crying. Skipped? Back to the big man, Neo Exdeath himself. Grinding to level 50 with HP plus 30% ended up being the trick I needed. I cut through phase 1 relatively painlessly this time. Then blasting the back part instantly with Odin and focusing down the front. With the last 2 parts, it was just spamming kicks and managing my HP with my last elixirs, then resorting to high potions post Almagust. Of course, I had to cure the more debilitating effects of Grand Cross. But with a slew of final kicks, I've won. I've beaten Final Fantasy V using exclusively monks. Final Fantasy V Monks Only was completed at level 50 in 1 day, 15 hours, 56 minutes, and 28 seconds, aka just shy of 40 hours. At least by my calculation. There was likely some off-screen grinding to up the time a little bit. I will note that this will likely be the longest challenge in Final Fantasy V, with like 2 exceptions. Every subsequent challenge does not have a 16-hour Omniscient tax. They also patched in EXP boosting features, which I will use for certain challenges. I grinded this monk-only challenge totally legitimately with pre-EXP boost patches. But because I do use the EXP boost in future challenges, it's going to skew the future numbers. I'm just being transparent. Monk only is a pretty brainless way to beat the game. Outside of a handful of battles early on like Byblos, it's mostly smooth sailing through World 1. World 2 is generally a bit harder and grinding becomes more of an issue. World 3's enemy levels spike hard, which significantly reduces your bare fist damage formula, until you really gotta grind since it takes both your level and your opponent's level into account. Honestly, the most difficult aspect of this challenge was having very bad access to both in-combat and out-of-combat healing. I was actually excited for Chakra spam early on, but it doesn't scale, and like 150 HP a turn is just terrible. It's good for exactly 2 bosses, Garula and Liquid Flame. After that, it's just awful. All you have for healing through dungeons are potions in World 1, and thankfully you get high potions in World 2. Final Fantasy V knows you have access to a white mage as soon as you complete the Wind Shrine, and incorrectly assumes that you'll always have one in your party. This little nuance of the game makes some areas a real chore to get through, namely the Undersea Trench and especially the Interdimensional Rift. The lack of healing is going to be an ongoing problem for anything that doesn't get self-healing, which means that pretty much every job outside of White Mage and Red Mage's only healing is spamming potions post-battles. There's a few other jobs that get some self-healing tricks, but they're few and far between. As for Monk itself, they are a super economical job for casual play early on. You hit like a truck, twice. This means you can easily get through the game while saving money on weapons. Monk really is a first world only kind of job though. As soon as the better weapons and armor become available, Monk gets a lot less desirable to use as a main. Monk's support abilities are pretty good though, mainly HP plus 30% being actually incredibly strong. Never underestimate a good HP bloat maxing. Interestingly, you can never learn Kick as an active ability, so you can only ever use it while being a Monk. Focus and Counter are actually nice abilities to put on some other melee jobs, but other than that, Monk is actually pretty unremarkable. It's held back by a damage formula that doesn't scale well unless you grind a lot of levels, and you have extremely low equipment options. So in conclusion, I think it's absolutely the baseline for decent for these mono job challenges. That's the first of, well, a lot more Final Fantasy job challenge runs. I'll be doing these over time for all of our sanity. I like Final Fantasy V a lot, but like anything, just playing it can get pretty boring after a while. Variety is the spice of life after all. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.